Hello, and thank you for stopping by yet another edition of the Massachusetts Beer Reviews and Company. We are joined by TV Rambler John H. Pierre from Mobile, Alabama. That's where he's based out of right now.
It's very cold here in Mobile tonight, and Jay, I'm sure you know that feeling.
Yes, it's the hot water going to my front bathroom is froze up. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, we have Jay Terrio, Louisiana Beer Reviews. You all probably have seen his Wednesday nights and his beer reviews channel. Go check him out. And as always, joined by Michael Kormaroff from Brooklyn, New York, a fellow beer community contributor.
Hello. We had a little dusting of snow earlier today, but it didn't turn out to
we
be
did in the Northeast. Yeah. And this week's episode is going to be all about flavored beers. So my stipulation during this examination, when calling it flavored beers, is it has to have some kind, the beer has to have some kind of added ingredient to it beyond just hops, water, yeast, malt, or corn, or rice if they're more of that style of beer. So what have you all brought to the discussion? Oh, John walked away. He must be getting his beer. So what have you all brought for the discussion this evening?
John is back.
Grab John. Okay, I'll start. That's all right. I have from apparently Michael Kormaroff was telling me a very small brewery up in the state of Maine in Biddeford, Maine. This is from the Banded Horn Brewing Company. It is their Jolly Woodsman. It's a coffee stout at 7.5% alcohol volume, and they use wood roasted Kenyan espresso. So there you go.
Mine is Leinenkugel's pomegranate shandy.
Oh, all right.
And it uses it's a rice beer brewed with honey with natural flavor.
Excellent.
Flavors. It's 4.2% alcohol. I'm sure it has a low IBU. It's certified kosher, and it's brewed in Wisconsin, home of Eric and Tyler.
And what do you have this evening, Michael Kormaroff?
Mine is another one from Six Point in Brooklyn called 6 Point Lil L-I-L Raspy, R-A-S-P. It's a Berliner Weiss made with raspberry puree.
Interesting.
4.5% alcohol.
Excellent. What does John H. Pierre have this evening?
Tonight I am having the Sweetwater Blue from Sweetwater, based in ATL. It has some hint of blueberry flavors in this, not overpowering, but there is some of those flavors, and it's a perfect beer to have during the summer months, which I would love to enjoy. And guess what? The born on date is correct, March 4th, 2018.
So that's the freshness date, in other words.
Freshness date, yes.
Yeah, my can of this coffee stout says the 2nd of November on it. So that's not so bad. I mean, it is 7.5%, but as we were talking about before we jumped on live, Michael Kormaroff was talking about the fact that these flavored beers, and especially these coffee beers, the first thing that's going to deteriorate over time is going to be the flavoring and the added ingredients to the beer. So you want to drink these somewhat fresh. I mean, depending on how big the beer is by alcohol volume, or even maybe how much hopping is used in the beer, it might last a little while, but you want to get to these flavors in these beers relatively at a fresh age to get its intended flavors out of them.
And
mine's got the date, guys. I got March 5th, so I got a little time on it.
Immediately when I started pouring this beer, immediately the blueberry flavor just came right out. So you're absolutely right on that, Eric.
Yep. I know Jay has been one on the beer reviewing scene on YouTube to not really profess. Maybe he can explain that. He's not really been one to profess that he's really, over the moon about flavored beers. I wonder if you might be able to explain that a little bit.
Yes, I can do that explanation in less than 3 hours.
Cool.
Now, I only have 26 points to make in 16 subsections of each point. Now, first, I can take it. I can take it or leave it. Okay. All right.
He's got a little bit of audio issues, so I just let him know. So yeah, I think flavored beers, for me personally, I think flavored beers can be done really well when they're not when the additive flavor isn't being used in like a gimmicky way, or isn't it done in a way that kind of detracts from drinking a beer. If you put so much like lemon, if you're drinking shandies, some of them, or something that's made with lemon or some kind of fruit or whatever it is, I think that sometimes you can put so much of that added ingredient into beer where it almost becomes more about that flavor of the beer than it does about drinking an actual beer. But hopefully the ones that we chose this evening are going to be pretty fine examples of adding a flavor to a beer and making it taste really good.
Here's what mine looks like.
So explain the color on that one. Explain that to us.
I guess I would describe this kind of like a very light red, almost like a rosé wine red. It's not clear either, so it has a certain amount of haziness on it. You can't see through it, is what I mean.
And that's being considered a Berliner Weiss for all.
It's a Berliner Weiss, a wheat beer, and it has a lot of raspberry puree in it. And like John could smell the blueberry, I can smell the raspberry. It's on the very, very heavy raspberry nose on this.
Yeah, the Jolly Woodsman Coffee Stout from Banded Horn. Only beer I've ever had from this company. Yeah, definitely dark. Dark. There's a little bit of ruby red, so it's not 100% pitch black, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's pretty dark. And it's got that nice mocha khaki kind of colored looking head to it. It was a lot thicker when it poured, but it's now to a pretty good one finger consistency. It looks like it's going to stick around for a little bit and have some good lacing on it. So, I mean, just for stouts in general, it's got the look that you'd expect. So,
what's the
on
ABV,
par so
Eric?
far. This is
ABV on this?
7.5%.
Okay, that's pretty
For
good.
this coffee stout.
7.5.
Correct.
Whoa.
And that is an American stout.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that's what it's considered.
All right. Sorry for my little problem.
American stout, correct.
American stout. Okay, I said I could explain this in less than 3 hours, so I can do it now. Only 26 points to make. No, honestly, I can take it or leave it. Okay, I mean, flavored beer is fine. If it's flavored, if you look at my channel, I must have hundreds of flavored beers I've reviewed. Some are okay, some come across bad, but some are nice, like this Leinenkugel's pomegranate shandy. Leinenkugel's, they know what they're doing when it comes to shandy, so you know what you're going to get. It's going to be good. It's going to be reliable. That shake from Boulder Brewing, that chocolate shake, it tastes just like a chocolate shake. The Samuel Smith's Imperial Chocolate Stout, it's great. The oatmeal stout. So some are really good, and then I've had some horrendous ones, some really dreadful ones.
How's that beer you're drinking? What do you think of that one? Give us the tasting notes.
The one I'm drinking? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is what I like about Leinenkugel's. Yeah, it's a flavored product, and you can taste the pomegranate and the honey. But, and this is an important but for me, when you're drinking Leinenkugel's flavored beers, the underlying flavor, the base of the beer is beer. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a wheat beer, so you get the wheat, you get the bread. So it's not just some like flavored concoction item. And I have to admit, I said that also the Seagram's Escapes have a pretty strong underlying beer flavor. And I was looking down on those things, and I ridiculed those in my mind. Like, I would never drink that junk. And I told Holly Colt, I said, oh, well, I don't think I would drink something like that. And she said, well, it wouldn't kill you. And I said, oh, you got me there. So then I was trapped. It sure wouldn't kill me. So I went and bought a Seagram's Escape. And I said, oh, you know what? This is not too bad. It's from Rochester, New York. So then I said, okay, once a month, I'll do a different Seagram's Escape. Unfortunately, her channel looks like it kind of went defunct, and which is kind of the way of the world in the beer world.
Who's that? Who's that?
You know, Holly's Happy Hour.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that kind of went caputo. But and it's sad because I used to like her channel, but she must have spent an enormous amount of time with editing and graphics and all, and that can wear you out quick, and then the fun it'll lose its enjoyment fast. Yeah. But I'm still going to keep doing one a month. So yeah, flavored beer, take it or leave it. And my final statement is this one is fine, and I would recommend it, and it's not expensive. So,
Jay, what was the alcohol content again?
4.2.
Okay, so it's session.
Oh yeah.
Oh, to the hilt, yeah. And the Seagram's Escapes are 3.2, but they're a little chemically, a little chemically. So if you drink too many of them, you probably start feeling icky. Whereas the Leinenkugels is all natural. It's all natural, certified kosher, so it's pure, and you wouldn't feel icky.
Leinenkugel is part of the Miller brand, of course, under the Miller family.
Since 1988, but it's still run by the Leinenkugels family. Miller doesn't mess with it. They just
Chippewa, Wisconsin.
Chippewa Falls.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about when you were going to a new browser and coming back into the channel that I think that flavored beers can be good when they have an added ingredient to them and an added flavor that doesn't take away from the beer drinking experience. It's still got flavor in there, but it still reminds you that you're still drinking a beer, which I think that a lot of the craft breweries and even some of the bigger brands are starting to do that well, where you can get beer that tastes like beer, but with, say, coffee in it. And this one here, the Banded Horns, their Jolly Woodsman Coffee Stout, again, they say it's made with a speckled axe Kenyan espresso, domestic pale malt, English black chocolate and roasted malts, Summit and Centennial hops, and Saco River water and yeast. And the Saco River is in Maine, and there's a town called Saco, Maine, which the river goes through that town. So there's a little information on Maine for you. Yeah, it looks like the stout. Looks like a good stout like we talked about in the Guinness glass. And in the nose, that is exactly what you're getting, is that cold. It's fresh brewed coffee, but just obviously cold. And without any cream or sugar kind of notes really about the coffee. Just fresh ground coffee, fresh dripped coffee, but just left to chill or be cold in the refrigerator.
Yeah, and you might have seen my daughter, who co-stars with me on from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
She's a big time flavored beer person. She's really into it. And my friend David, the guy with the real big guy, he looks like Paul Bunyan. He's huge, and he's got the big beard. Dave
Garlipede?
Yes. David Garlipede. Everybody likes his when he does reviews with me.
Yeah, he tells it like it is. Particularly that stout you guys were reviewing. He said this is horrible.
But I mean, coffee stout is definitely the perfect description of the nose. It's definitely coffee. It's definitely got a lot of dark roasted elements to it. It's not the most dark roasted smell in the world. There is some malty sweetness in the background, but the coffee note is just so pronounced. That's basically what you're getting, is a little bit of a dark roasted malt, a touch of some sweetness, and then just that cold brew. I guess it is espresso that I'm smelling, if I had to even pinpoint it to one. So it smells like what they're brewing with it. It sounds like a really well-made stout so far. So far, so good on the smell, but on the taste of Jolly Woodsman, cheers. It's got a pretty dark, heavily roasted character about it. It's not quite as sweet as even the nose would let on to believe, but you kind of have to be a person that does already like coffee and does drink coffee on some regular basis to even attempt to drink this, because I mean, I like coffee, so it's fine for me. I think if you're not into heavy, darker roasted coffees, and you don't ever go for a espresso type of a coffee roast or a coffee drink, you're probably not going to like this, because that's exactly what it tastes like, is espresso coffee.
Well, I think I'd like it. And I'm going to say two things real fast. David and I, we did a review about 2 weeks ago, actually, going on 2 weeks ago. It was a Bell's Cherry Imperial Stout made with cherries and aged in whiskey barrels. And that was strong, like 12% alcohol. And we were just raving about it, and so that was a real winner. I don't know if anybody else has had that, but it was $6 a bottle. And I said, oh, no. I said, no way, Jose, $6 for a 12-ounce bottle. But he likes to spend a lot. What?
It's got it's got a little bit of lacing. I figured it would have more at 7.5, but we'll see how that goes down.
Look at mine.
The other thing, wow, yours got good lacing.
Oh, and one more thing. Michael Komarov had an interesting experience with me at his house, and it involved a flavored beer.
Uh-oh.
Trying to think what it was. I'm drawing a blank. Jay, tell me which one it was. Oh, I know which one it was. The grapefruit. We had grapefruit. Was Sculpin?
Yeah, and you kept saying, do you notice something extra in this beer? And I kept saying, no. But I guessed what it was. I guessed that it was an IPA, but I never did dream that it had grapefruit in it. Remember, you were like, you couldn't believe it,
And Jay said he would rather have grapefruit added to just a base beer than one that's seeking to be a grapefruit IPA.
Yeah, we have a Backwoods Billy Craft Beer Reviews on the chat. Hello, sir. He says, according to the BJCP style guidelines, beer flavored should have a beer taste, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, as far as this beer that I'm drinking is concerned, I am very concerned that I'm very conscious that not only does it have this espresso coffee taste, and actually towards the finish of the coffee, if you've ever just had black coffee without any cream or sugar in it, it actually does have that coffee-like bitterness to it at the end. It does have some bitterness to it, and it does have that slight black coffee sourness to it that you want, or that you do get from those darker roasted coffees. So
I like to talk to Backwoods Billy because he has a good insight on how beers are supposed to be constructed, and he studies the guidelines and all that. So he kind of like Tanya and Maria at one time did, at least. So, but yeah, he's really into that.
But it's definitely a beer, and it's definitely no mistaking that it is brewed with coffee, but it's definitely a stout. And the way I can tell beyond the darkly roasted coffee notes that it does have this roasty malt in the background. Correct. It's definitely malt driven and malt forward in there. There definitely is some sweetness in there. And I think there is a little bit
cream
of the Centennial. Actually, let me get to that in a second. There's definitely Centennial and Summit hops. I think and there's a little bit of earthiness to that.
And it's not burnt though.
No, it's just dark roasted. But I think if the malts weren't in there, there could be, or the hops, it might be a little bit more on the sweet side. So they're using that, I think, to round out some of the flavors in there. But as you said, I brought this beer to a buddy of mine during the Patriots game that was looking for a darker beer at this point in time in the winter in New England. So I said, I had to buy this beer anyways for our examination. Let him try one. And he kind of likes more, and some people might. He was looking for more of when he thought it said stout he was looking for it to have more of a creamier mouthfeel and feel about it. And this has only a little bit, just due to the head. It's a little bit creamy on the head. Well, it was even more creamy initially, but I wouldn't really call this a creamy or velvety or smooth beer. It definitely has a pretty high carbonation level. I wouldn't really say it's clean. I guess it's kind of semi-dry, almost sweet in the finish. I wouldn't really call it refreshing either, but if you want a good beer in the winter time, this is a pretty good one and a pretty good version. But you have to like coffee and darker roasted espresso, Italian, and French type roast coffee to even get into this. So far, so good.
Jay, to give you an example of how accurate what he's saying, I've had this beer before, and I had it in one of my tastings. There were 11 people, and there was one non-coffee drinker in it, and I didn't know he wasn't, but he got to try it also. And he was the only one who didn't like it. Everybody else really liked it, and the scores were very high. I mean, I wasn't the highest score in the group, but I was, I gave it a good score. But there were people who gave it 9, my 9 out of 10 scale. So there were people who were at the top end on the beer that Eric is trying. So, and it ended up coming in first in the ones we did.
Don't I always comment on your video portfolios? Yes,
you do. And for the most part, I've had a few lately where you haven't had any, and I'm very impressed when I'm able to do that.
Yeah, not your video. Not your video portfolios. I meant to say your beer portfolio.
Right. The picture, when I send my pictures out. But those pictures you get are from beer tastings that I do.
Right. I knew that.
Backwoods Billy, just quickly here, is talking about imperial or coffee stouts in the chat. He says, I like to brew, actually he's talking about coffee. I like to brew my coffee stouts with French press method for coffee and cocoa to remove the bitterness and steep the dark roasted malts to avoid the astringent bitter qualities. Cheers.
Good. Because some people don't know how to do it like that, and it tastes like some kind of acid. Hey, let me say this before I forget. If you've never had the Shock Top Twisted Pretzel, buy it. Because Shock Top Twisted Pretzel is something. It is weird, man. That is a weird beer.
I think that's the best beer Anheuser-Busch makes, if you ask me.
I've been wanting to try that, and I see it all the time. And I said, Twisted, but
my daughter was like, "Oh man, this is great. This is awesome. Twisted pretzel. I swear, it tastes like you're drinking a pretzel, but it has
a salted pretzel you're tasting.
Yeah, salted pretzel. It is bizarre."
So what you got? What do you have there, Jean-Pierre?
What I was going to say, Eric.
Can I have a sip of that?
Yes, here you go.
What I was going to say, Eric, with that beer, any similarities with that stout versus some of the others out there? Any comparisons to that? Maybe Samuel Smith or any of the other Guinnesses out there?
Because they're using, I don't know. We just heard from Backwoods Billy his thought process on how to prepare coffee to put it into a stout. I don't know to the extent that far on how they prepared this coffee to be put into their beer, but for me, it's so just dark roast espresso in your face, and it drinks like that, and it has all that bitterness and that slightly sour astringency that you get from coffee. Like, it is literally like just drinking coffee that's got malt inside of it. So, I mean,
I had the Hatchery series the other day of the chocolate milk stout, and the ABV was a little bit low, 5.4, but it was very chocolatey. But there was some hint of coffee in there already.
Yeah,
and I thought it was decent, but it was a little bit, I guess, because of the ABV, it didn't have enough oomph to me. Now, if it was up, say, the same amount as 7.4 as yours, or something like the Guinness Foreign Extra Stout, then I might have given a better score than that. So
yeah, I think that even though a lot of stouts, just due to the kind of malts they use and maybe how the malts are integrated and or roasted into their beers,
right?
I think that they naturally do with the malts have these coffee flavors and even coffee stouts, are personifying and exemplifying those flavors of the malts and really bringing out that coffee flavor. But literally, this is like the most coffee flavor in any beer I've ever had, and it's got to be one of the. If you really, really, really are a diehard coffee fan and really, really like the flavor of coffee, I really can't see, at least in my neck of the woods, why there's any better coffee stout on the market than this for pure coffee flavor.
Try that coffee bender. Try that coffee bender.
Hey,
Coffee
Jay.
bender.
It's called coffee bender. Let me ask you a question real fast, y'all. And then you can ask me my question. Then I go to the bathroom real fast. Anybody likes coffee and chicory?
Never had chicory.
I do.
Never did.
I like it.
Hey,
You got to have coffee and chicory. Okay, Jean.
remember that beer I gave you, and I did a review of it, the Judge Roy Bean from Fairhope Brewery. What is it kind of? Was that more coffee taste to it than a stout? For me, when I had it, when I reviewed it, it was more coffee. It was basically a coffee stout, as is what it says, but it didn't really. I don't know. It was kind of bland to me. What was your feelings on that?
Well, I can't quite recall, but I think my written reviews are posted on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, but I thought it was kind of okay, but honestly, a lot of coffee stouts I have are just sort of okay. Now, that coffee bender, that's a dynamite item.
Excellent.
It's called coffee bender. But most of them are kind of, I would just rather drink coffee, tell you the truth.
Sure, yeah.
Now, before, Eric, we leave coffee stouts, has anybody tried this one-hitter series from Lagunitas?
I have not. I have not. That looks good,
This is a coffee stout aged in rye oak barrels.
You've had that before?
No, I haven't, but I'm going to have it in the next week, and I'll let you know how it is.
I'll see if it's in my immediate area. Maybe I can join you.
12.6 ABV.
Woo! All right.
We should be able to get that here in our state.
Do you get Lagunitas in Mississippi?
We do. We do get Lagunitas here in Alabama.
You're in Alabama. Jay, you're in Louisiana. Do you get Lagunitas?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
This is a specialized Lagunitas.
We get some. We don't get them all. We get some. We get
some of them. Some of them.
We get a lot of good ones. We get a lot of good ones.
I'm dying to find out about this Sweetwater Blue that Jean H. Pierre is drinking.
I'm trying to go to the bathroom, but I'm going to go fast.
Go ahead. I was going to skip that, saying that our state, unfortunately, and some of y'all may know the founders, DKML, we couldn't get it because the ABV was a little too high. I think it was at 14%. So
it's 12.6. Maybe you can get it. 12.6.
Yeah, we couldn't. So this one that you're talking about, Michael, we could get that easily. But again, it's hit and miss. We get all the other Lagunitas stuff, and we did get the Imperial Stout. And I think someone told me the Imperial Stout was back in Mobile. So nice. I know 3 places I know I can go and look and check and find it. I haven't been able to do that, but because of
if you were on the one we did on the stouts that Eric and I did on the stouts, the guy from Atlanta did that one, the Lagunitas.
John and
John, and then I was like, John, I could kiss you. I want that, because the first time I had it, I was like, man, this is just incredible, And then I had the second time, even better than the first. So, but
comes in those nice 22-ounce bomber bottles. It's very reasonably priced compared to everything.
Nice. I think mine was $4.99 for my bottle when I purchased it.
Yeah, excellent.
So, okay, I'm sorry, guys.
Sweetwater Blue. What kind of beer style is this?
It is a wheat ale, laced with blueberry flavors.
Laced with flavor.
Yes.
All right.
It is one of the 3 popular beers of the Sweetwater line. Of course, the other 2, of course, is the 420 Pale Ale and their IPA. They have, I think, an Imperial IPA, but it is out as well. But those are the 3 that, if you go to the bars and you're at the stores, whatever, these are the ones that are pretty much people are getting. But this one here, very immediately, and because of the born on date, having it being from March of this coming March of this year, you can sense the blueberry flavors coming out immediately from this beer.
Whoa.
Very refreshing, very easy going down. It's a good wheat ale, perfect for the spring, perfect for the summer. As spring down here in this part of the country, it will be like in the 60s or 70s, where versus spring up there, it's either some snow or maybe it's in the 50s. So, but in the Northeast, or in the Midwest. But a very clean, very refreshing beer, very enjoyable. And this is the one of the flavor beers. This is one I can tolerate. There are other flavored beers that I just don't do. Whether it be the Leinenkugel, I think grapefruit, and the Rebel IPA. That's also with grapefruit. I just haven't. I've tried them. I'm just like I just can't wrap myself around them altogether. But this one I can deal with.
I like the grapefruit Rebel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drink this Helles Doppelbock, but grapefruit Rebel.
AKA malt liquor.
John, is the blueberry taste artificial, or does it taste like real blueberries?
It tastes like real blueberries.
That's good.
That's like I said, immediately once I poured it, I could really got the hint of it. It's like this is not something that just laced it with something, whatever,
Yep.
Or something that just like, all right, let's get the juice and just shake it and pour it into beer. This is like real blueberries.
We are joined on the chat. He said it a little while ago. It was Bart Robinson.
Hey, Bart.
He said a little while ago he is enjoying a Bell's Black Note Stout. That was a Christmas gift. It was 11.2 ABV. It's delicious.
Oh.
And now he says my Bell's Black Note Stout is 11%. Never had the cherry. So it sounds like an interesting beer. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the show. Cheers to you, sir. So do you normally find, John, that this flavor, when you think of the term flavored beer or beer with X, Y, and Z added, you automatically think that's kind of like a gimmick and like, sure.
Kind of like a gimmick or a turn off. Like I said, when you mentioned flavored beer, the first thing that came to mind was going to be like, whether it be one of those wine coolers or like the Bud Light Limeritas or something like that, And when I saw your message that you do something like of a stout or something, that has flavor, I said, okay.
Yeah.
I said, well, let me think of something I deal with. I tolerate that is the flavors are in there fruit wise, but it's not overpowering the beer. And I said, okay, this one comes to mind. There were a couple of others too. So those are the ones I can deal with,
There's so many. And if you want to taste some that are really not right, go to Trader Joe's and get their
Excuse me.
Go.
Get their name tag lager, right?
No, I mean, I'm talking about flavored beers. Go to Trader Joe's and get all their oddball flavored beers, and they'll all taste interesting, but they'll never taste right.
Oh, the only one that might taste right is their Kenny Bunkport, a.k.a. Shipyard Blueberry Ale.
Yeah, right. That's
pumpkin ale.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I say that in quotation marks because Kenny Bunkport is a town in Maine. Shipyard Brewing Company, their origins started in a brew pub in Kenny Bunkport, Maine. All of their beers say they were brewed in Kenny Bunkport, Maine. And Shipyard makes both a pumpkin beer and a blueberry beer with the exact same alcohol by volume. So
yeah, it's just a mimic of Shipyard made for Trader Joe's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
KBC, yeah, KBC.
Yep, KBC, Kenny Bunkport Brewing Company. But we'll get back to Jean if he would what he thinks the rating is and if he would recommend that. If I had to give Jolly Woodsman a Massachusetts beer review type of a rating, personally, it's pretty good. I don't know if this would be something I would like, even though I like stouts and I really like coffee. I don't know if this kind of a heavy flavor and this big roasty coffee, big boldness is something that you just, at least for me, it's not something that I crave on a regular basis as far as a beer is concerned. But I mean, it's a really well done beer. It's probably the best coffee stout I ever can recall having. And I've even had the Lagunitas. I've even had the Bourbon County Stout from a few years ago that was done with Intelligentsia Coffee up in Chicago, Illinois. That was a good coffee stout, but this is just, it's a little bit easier going. It's not imperial, but it still is. It has a big, bold flavor to it. So as far as coffee stouts, I think it's probably one of the best money can buy. For me personally, it's probably going to get 85 maybe. It's a really well done beer, but I just don't crave this big and bold and roasty of a coffee stout kind of a flavor in my beer all the time. I think as far as John was talking about when he was asking about how does it compare to other stouts, I think in general this is great to have when you want a beer like that, but I think in general I'd rather drink a Guinness or a milk stout or like a Left Hand or a Guinness draft on a more frequent basis than this. Those are just a little bit easier to kick back with and just drink. So
you're saying a B.
Yeah, it's definitely, if people put it in a world-class rating, I would have no problems with them doing that. I think it is a world-class kind of a style of beer. Because
I think world-class would be above 100.
Yeah, I view the beer, for me, in my personal opinion, this isn't something that I would gravitate towards all the time. But I don't see how, if somebody thought it was a world-class beer, I can understand why they would say that, for sure.
My score for Leinenkugels was an A. It's like a 94, 95. It's like a perfect pomegranate shandy. Now, I just said it's not something I really care to drink.
Yep.
But that's no detriment against the beer. I should not score a beer low because of me. I did like the 4 that I had, so I liked it. Now, the Helles Doppelbock I'm drinking, I would give that a really high score too, because it's like beer that tastes like beer. You know what I mean? It's not flavored, but that's another story. But
yeah, I was going to say
the Helles Doppelbock, it is 8.2% alcohol. John, I don't think I like that Sweetwater too much, but I have to go back and look at my review. I thought it tasted kind of bland, but that was years ago now.
Yeah.
Wasn't recent.
There was also, and then you have the other flavored, I guess, beers that I'm talking about, like, like that. Also, the Steel Reserve flavored, whatever that is, or the Four Locals, stuff like that. I wouldn't consider that beer at all.
I remember that we did that review.
Poor man.
Yeah, we did that review of all of these flavored Steel Reserves on my channel like a year or two ago. That was horrendous.
Oh,
Eric, what was that?
I will.
Eric, that was the wino beer review section.
Yeah. We were going to do it on Jay's channel, and I forget what ended up happening, so I took over the reins for one of those Wednesdays and still kept the topic alive. I did the fruit punch version of the Steel Reserve.
Yeah,
and it literally tasted like fruit punch mixed with corn inside of it.
Oh, yeah. I will say this: the Reds Wicked is a very good line of flavored beer, and it tastes like beer. It's an ale.
The 8%, yes, that's the bestseller.
And it's an actual ale. It is not some imitation flim-flam stuff.
Jay, is that made by the same company that makes the cider, or is that a different company?
Reds?
Isn't there a Reds Apple Ale or Reds?
The 5%.
That could be a different company.
It's not a cider. They emphasize that. If you get on their website, they keep saying, we're not a cider. We're not a cider.
So maybe there's a separate company that makes cider that's also called Reds.
I'm not familiar with that. But what the problem with Reds is, they keep picking the beer in the cider section.
Well, they don't. The stores do.
Yeah, not Reds. It's a beer that's made with apple flavoring, apple juice. So
caramel color added.
Caramel, but they tell you on the can or the bottle. They don't try to hide it. But they even, if you get on the Reds website, they say, we beg the stores not to put it in the cider section. It's not a cider, but the stores will not listen to them. So I've told people before, do you like Reds? Oh, I don't drink cider. And I'm like, it's not a cider, it's an ale. And it's got
you're
billboards in New Orleans.
Rouse's,
Billboards in New Orleans that say beer to the core.
if you go to any grocery store here, Rouse's, and even the Publix and the Greer's, they put that in that section as a cider, and it's not.
It's
You know.
not.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, did you notice that John has in his hand Latrobe, Pennsylvania's finest?
That's right.
Oh.
Or St. Louis's finest, maybe.
Now,
or Newark, New Jersey's finest. So
Yeah, right.
it's made everywhere. So
it originated in Arnold Palmer's hometown of Latrobe.
yep.
Right.
Yep. And I'm starting maybe become my go-to right now because it's not overly heavy, it's not overly light, it's kind of in between. You know, I guess 4.4% will do that, but and I just did a rehash video and I uploaded it, so you know.
Yeah, and it has an interesting hop flavor that I talked about, and you talked about how you found it was kind of interesting too. I watched your video.
Yeah, so it's quite good. So it doesn't make me feel a certain way where I drink plenty of those, you know, hellish doppelbocks like you have.
Malt liquors in
I'm
America.
gonna start talking crazy. I'm gonna start talking crazy.
I'll be a little bit woozy and feeling not so good in the morning, whereas only one is all I need. But you know, and that right there, Eric, that'd be a nightcap for me right there. You know,
Yeah,
like
7.5. It definitely tastes on the heavier side for sure.
Eric, I'll do mine. I'll do mine before I finish it. This is what.
Oh
I
yes,
left.
review or
Okay,
final thoughts on the beer.
As I said on mine, 4.5%, so it's definitely sessionable, and it's a Berliner Weiss. It's a wheat beer with raspberry puree.
Uh-oh. There goes your
Somebody's
phone.
phone.
that's mine.
Anyway, when you smell it, the raspberry is very pronounced, and when you taste it, the taste follows the nose. There's a certain tartness versus sourness. So it's really not sour. It's just very tart.
Tart.
So there's a difference.
A lot of people confuse those two.
And I like both tart. I like both tart and I like sour, but this is tart, and 6 Point has done a really good job in making a really good tart beer. Yet you can still taste it's a beer and that it's not a raspberry drink.
Good.
Because
that's the point that's sort of the direction I was going with this examination. Is it definitely had to just be something added extra to the beer and not just be called malternative.
right.
So good.
It's not a Zima, in other words.
But as you can tell from my previous reviews, I'm very fond of 6 Point. I like most of the stuff they do.
I wish we could get it down here, dang it.
Well, they do have semi-national distribution, but I guess Louisiana is not one of their states yet.
No.
It's funny. It's brewed now in Memphis, so it's closer to you than it is to Brooklyn.
What?
They better get down there.
They brew it. Well, it's funny. They do stuff at the brewery, like the stuff that I've been buying, like this, the beers that you see me doing. I did that. Those coffee bourbon barreled and rye barreled and
Flavored beer.
Those are brewed in Brooklyn, because what they do is they distribute those here, and they're in limited release, but they don't get national distribution. It's like one-off beers, brewed ones. Now it's funny, they had ones that were not bourbon barrel or rye barrel or whatever, just straight coffee beers when those original beers came out. Those, I guess you call them coffee bean beers. When they originally came out, they were not put in barrels. They were just brewed, and that was it. But I like the brewery. I have a relationship with some of the people there. This little Raspy, which we're drinking today, is going to have a big brother called Big Raspy. It's going to be a 9.2 ounce. Also, raspberry, and I've tasted it already. It's pretty heavy duty.
I don't believe that 9% is very typical for the Berliner Weiss style, however.
It is
very
not.
Americanized version of a German Berliner Weiss.
The 6 Point version for people who like to have more action in their lives.
Yeah, that's like a Memphis.
Action.
That's like a Memphis or Weiss style. Hey, if you're saying Memphis, that's making me think that it must be City Brewing. Oh my goodness.
Okay, bye, Sean.
Could that be where they are? Is that the main big brewery in Memphis?
Yes, that's where a lot of contract brewing is done in Memphis at City Brewing. It used to be a Schlitz brewery.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so there's a chance it's brewed there. The difference, though, now, and it's better, they used to be brewed in Pennsylvania, and for a while, they had a problem where they had to send one of their brewers to the brewery in Pennsylvania because whoever was handling it for them, the contract brewing aspect of it wasn't really going by their formulas, and there were problems with the beers, and they got released. And some of them were some of their regular people who knew the beer from when they brewed it in Brooklyn before they.
That was probably Wilkes. That was probably Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
I think it's called Lions Brewing in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Wilkes-Barre. They do a lot of contract too, and they're very questionable.
Okay, so they moved now, I guess, to City, if that's the big one in Memphis. And I am correct that Memphis is closer to New Orleans than it is to Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
It's about a 5.5 hour. Yeah, it's about a 5.5 hour drive.
Because that's southern Tennessee, right? On the border.
Yes, right on the Mississippi border.
Arkansas.
And right east of Arkansas and right north of Mississippi. It's right in that tri-state area. It's about 5.5 hours from here. So if I leave at 5 in the morning, I can be in Memphis in 10.5 hours. I mean, at 10:30. I meant to say at 10:30, 5.5 hours. But City Brewing was a big Schlitz brewery, but in Memphis. But now they do major contract brewing. For instance, Guinness, and like you said, 6 Point, and a lot of other people too. A lot of people, craft breweries. A lot of craft beers are brewed in Memphis now.
I know 6 Point is available in Chicago, and it's available down the whole East Coast, down as far as Florida. So it just has to come further west.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I'm almost literally directly south of Memphis. If I could shoot an arrow directly north and it could reach Memphis, I would hit Memphis. I'd probably hit the Liberty Bowl Stadium. But
it's a great town. I was up there this past summer for the third time. Just downtown area alone is a good walking city. A lot of energy at nighttime. Yeah, great. Yes.
John, how many hours from Mobile to Memphis?
About the same distance, about 5 hours. Same distance. Okay. Go up Highway 98 and keep on going, put you on 59. And then from 59 straight on through some of the county roads, you're there in no time.
That's good.
That's right. And Sean, me and you got to get together soon, huh?
Yeah, we do.
Eric?
I just got to get my schedule together and what, when, and where. But yeah, no doubt.
I know.
There was an article that was written back on March 22nd, 2016 on time.com. It was in their money section of the website. And I haven't read the whole article, but they talked about at that time period back in March that at that time period, it was a really hot trend in craft brewing. The headline of the article says, the hottest trend in craft brewing is beer that doesn't taste like beer.
I believe that.
They're talking about in 2010, they said 15% of new beers introduced were flavored beers, even though that number might sound awfully high to purists. They say in 2015, 27%, that's 1 in 4 new beers that came into the market were flavored varieties. And that's because they say the beverage industry analysts say changing consumer tastes and a desire by brewers to woo young adult women who typically haven't been big beer consumers are behind the burst of flavors. Women between the ages of 22 and 34 were the most avid consumers of flavored beers. The growth of related hard cider category also helps bolster the flavored beer boom because it exposes drinkers to other fruit-forward alcoholic beverage options. So what do you all think of that?
Well, I believe it. I believe it, and it's the I'm about to get off this hangout, but I believe it, and it's the same thing with whiskey and liquor. Everything is flavored. Flavored gin, flavored whiskey, flavored brandy.
To this flavored
vodka,
apple flavored martini.
I can get king cake. I can go to Walmart tomorrow morning and buy king cake flavored vodka. It's flavored like king cake.
Wow.
King cake, I can't do that.
I wouldn't do that.
I'm not gonna buy the damn thing, but I'm saying I could do it. And they've got gin and flavoring, flavored gin, flavored brandy, flavored whiskey, flavored vodka, flavored beer. Everything's flavored.
Vodka's huge for flavors, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's incredible. It's they got, I don't know about flavored wine, but it's like it just doesn't stop.
Well, the flavored wine thing, you can almost consider that as like those bum wines. You get like that hooch wine stuff like Thunderbird or MD 2020 that supposedly
You're right.
It's like technically it's a, as they like to say on the bottles of these wines, they're citrus wines that have all these flavors to it.
How about Boone's Farm apple wine? Do you remember that?
That's all.
Yeah.
You're right. That's the same concept.
It's still sold. It's still sold in the United States.
Oh yeah, I can go to Walmart. I can go to Walmart and buy a bunch of Boone's Farm. I want to know what your thoughts on what I just read were from that article, and what your thoughts on flavoring and alcohol and beer as a whole there, Michael Kormaroff.
Well, I think the market they're talking about mainly is females, because that's been an untapped market, I think, pretty much. They know that's a big growing market. And maybe women mostly would drink wine a lot and maybe some hard liquor drinks, but now they're tending to go a little bit lower.
Or mixed drinks.
And this gives them an option where flavored will take that whole market, and that's an important market.
Yeah, don't forget the chiladas for the Hispanic market, all the tomato-based and lamb broth-based chiladas for the Hispanic market.
Yeah,
before Jay goes, I'm going to rate my beer. I would give this an 89.
All right.
Whoa,
not bad.
A B plus. Good.
Which is a B plus, almost bordering on an A minus. I guess my A minus would be in the 90s. You're right, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90, 91. Yeah, 90, 91.
I will give Sweetwater a B, a low end B, but again, it's perfect as the weather gets a little cooler, and if you can have it during the winter months, you take it out of the refrigerator, let it sit out on the counter for a couple of minutes. Yeah. And let it warm up just a little bit, and at 4.6%, it may not give you enough booze flavor, but, still good enough. A very refreshing drink. So
you can still go back to your day.
Hey, Eric, this was a good idea. Now, what do you have coming up for next Wednesday?
Absolutely no set plans. I have all these topic ideas. And I'm wondering what a good way to go about that was.
Do you remember my suggestion? I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Michael Kormaroff suggested wheat beers maybe next week. Does anybody sound like that's a cool idea, wheat beer?
I can get a couple of wheat beers,
That could be a cool idea. I can write that down for next week. So,
hey, can you get a wheat beer that's different?
Well, I could get a wheat beer that's common. I would say yes.
You and I thinking the same. You and I thinking alike, Jay.
I think you probably know where I'm going with that.
Blue Moon.
Why you got to ruin all my? Why you got to ruin?
Shocked up.
Why do you have to ruin all my
fun?
Yeah, my fun.
So that could be next week.
One other idea, or we could do adjunct Hellas Doppelbox. But
one of the ideas that I had, and I have a whole bunch of ideas that I've written down here on a little notepad app on my computer. But one of the ideas that I had was to do what did I call them? I called them tall beers. So you can do anything that's between 16 and 18 ounces and above in the serving size. So even if you wanted to bring a craft beer and bring a bomber of craft beer, that's still a tall beer. I don't know if that's a cool topic, but that could be a cool topic.
I like it. I like it.
So here's what I wrote down.
What am I
wrote down for ideas?
What am I drinking right now? What am I drinking right now?
Here's some ideas that I wrote down. We just did the flavored beers. We could get beer specific like Jay used to do, and actually everybody pick a beer to bring. That might be a little difficult. We could do European strong lagers, so European versions of malt liquors. We could, what's his
elephant.
Michael Kormaroff was on the channel, and when Will and Kepley brought up the idea of hardship beer, so pick an economical beer that you would bring to your refrigerator.
One thing you have to say, he definitely has interesting ideas, William.
For sure. He's great at that. So then there's the tall beers.
Hardship, Big Flats, or Trader Joe's beer.
Yeah. He thought about doing East Coast versus West Coast as far as IPAs are concerned.
Oh.
Okay.
We could do box and doppelbox. Wheat beers.
I want to show you something else before Jay leaves.
We'll do wheat beers next week, I guess. I thought of Belgian dark beers, barley wines, Belgian beers in general. Or how about we examine any growler of beer you want if you got a growler of beer?
I ain't going by.
Jay and the group, has anybody had the Rebel Juice IPA?
Yeah, it's not that great.
Yes, I liked it because I am not a communist like you, Eric. No,
I like the Rebel line, but the grapefruit thing was kind of something I just, no, thank you.
I liked it. I liked it. Hey, Eric.
Just to get to that discussion real quickly, let's do wheat beers next week, and then we'll collaborate on the following week.
Wheat beers and then tall beers.
You want to do the tall beers? Let's do it.
I'm fine with both those.
You can bring a craft tall boy.
Well, I'm not going to bring a craft tall boy, but I'm going to bring a good tall boy.
Good. That's what I think of when I think of tall beers. Is a tall American lager. Let's do it.
Lone Star.
Hell yeah! There you go. All right.
Come down to Louisiana and walk in my shoes, and you won't be walking a straight line very long. But
Mardi Gras begins this week for you guys. All right, Jay. I know next week will begin for us. First parade is next Friday. Next Friday, my birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday in advance.
Happy birthday. Oh no, Carnival started on January 6th. So
okay.
Oh, it's just going to get amped up, Now once everybody fixed their busted pipes and pays the plumber, everybody pays the plumber hundreds of dollars and gets depressed.
All right. Trip those faucets.
That's when oh, wait. But hold on a minute.
Holding.
I got up last night at 9 o'clock to go relieve some liquid pressure on my anatomy.
All right, you took a whiz. All right.
I'm trying to be delicate. And then I said, okay, I'll start running the water. I started running the hot water and the cold water in the front bathroom, hot and cold. I said, okay, this looks right. And then around 1 o'clock in the morning, something was telling me in my head, get up, go check it, get up. I was like, no, I'm cold. I'm going to lay here. So then I got up at exactly 2:30 a.m. Okay, I went to the bathroom. Oh my goodness, the hot water was not running. No water was coming out the faucet. I said, I'm screwed now. The hot water froze. Now, I had it running. It got down to 18 degrees here. This is not normal for Louisiana. This is very unusual.
Not normal for us here in Mobile either.
That's Massachusetts right now.
So the only people in Louisiana that are happy about this cold weather are plumbers. Because they are gonna make so much money, and I'm hoping that they're not gonna make money off of me. So if I come on the next 2 weeks and I seem very depressed, you'll know why.
It's your sewer bill or whatever.
Yeah, no, plumbing.
Whatever. So yeah, wheat beers, and then bring a tall beer of happiness.
Yeah, or
yes, we do really have to choose.
Or drown your sorrows.
25 ounce can or 16-ounce can. Doesn't matter.
I'm going with at least minimally it needs to be a 16 or an 18-ounce can.
I am so down with that.
Or
I'm
bottle.
So down with that. It's like unnerving.
It could be and we leave it up and we leave it up to your imagination, because as we normally do, bring whatever beer fits the style.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And Jean-Pierre, you're winking at me and I'm winking at you, and you just know what we're gonna bring for wheat beers.
Fighting Blue Moon, God. All right, so this has been Massachusetts Beer Reviews channel of YouTube.
Hey, it might be the same beer next week. It might be another wheat beer from Line Kugel, possibly.
Sure. I'm Thomas Metal 75. That's John H. Pierre. That's Ron Ontario. Louisiana Beer Reviews. The other guy was Beer TV Ramble. You look him up on YouTube, John H. Pierre. It's spelled the way you would think it would be. And we got Michael Kormaroff, beer community contributor without a channel, but he's always here on Wednesday. So say hello to him when he's live. Thanks for joining for Flavored Beers. I think they were pretty good in general.
I agree.
I think our general consensus our general viewpoint is we probably all think that these flavored and added ingredients to beers should only be there to enhance the beer and not to overmask the flavors of actual beer. So if you can find a beer that does not mask the flavor of beer, that's probably a good flavored beer. Yeah.
Yeah, and Eric, this is the best beer review. This is the best beer discussion show on YouTube, and I'm unanimous.
Cheers, everybody.
Agreed.
And as I say on my channel, I raise the glass and I say, until next time, keep tasting those great beers. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Michael Kormaroff and John H. Pierre will see you soon. Maybe with William Kepley. Who knows?